What interior design can teach us as content creators, as entrepreneurs? First listen, you might think, well, what the hell does interior design have to do with any of that?
They're this very special combination of magic and practicality. They can tell you exactly how many feet apart those trash cans should be. And that's part of the magic because there isn't trash everywhere.
What we're doing here is we're really trying to show the level of detail to consider. You're not just setting a room, you're world building. How cool is that?
Even scent. They'll
Yes.
pull in like the smell of baking cookies. I mean, Disney really goes all out with those little details.
No one makes magic in business like Disney. Join us as we hear from Disney cast members, influencers, and enthusiasts to uncover the secrets of what it takes behind the scenes to make Disney such a successful and well-loved brand. We will hear their journeys, inspirations, and have some good old-fashioned Disney fun along the way. So relax, pull up a chair, be our guest, and let's get down to Bippity Boppity Business. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another magical episode of Bippity Boppity Business. I'm your host, Rita, and joining me today is a very special guest. We'll be introducing her in just a moment, but I wanted to talk about a really interesting theme today that is a bit of a stretch, but I think you'll understand. And what that theme is, it's the idea of immersive experiences through your atmosphere, through your space, and what interior design can teach us as content creators, as entrepreneurs, about branding, about atmosphere, about a general feeling that we want to kind of create through our content. But if you're not sure what that looks like yet, using a physical space as an example will be kind of a great way to get you to start thinking about, what do I want my brand to be like? What kind of emotions do I want my brand to be like? What kind of personality qualities do I want to come out of my brand? And at first listen, you might think, well, what the hell does interior design have to do with any of that? Well, interior designing is branding a space in the real world, in the physical material world. And if you also have a studio that you want to brand for yourself, the best places to look for a design inspiration are some of the most beautiful Disney resorts that I've ever been at. So whether it's your metaphorical brand that you're trying to build and look in the outside world for inspiration to gain from, or it's your actual office or space, or maybe even a pop-up event that you want to design something for. All of these things, we can start with the basics and start by looking outside. I always say there's always a story to be found, and there's always wonder if you just look in the right places. Before we get into that, let me read you our bio. We're going to learn about our guest today. Lana Wear is the founder and CEO of Homewear Designs, a real estate flipping and staging company in New York City, the Hamptons, and St. Pete. Her career began in sales, first as a real estate agent in NYC, and later as a sales leader for a bunch of really awesome multinational corporations. She's got an MBA. She has her own business. She's experienced. And most importantly, she is awesome and a Disney fan as well, too. So we'll let Lana tell more about herself, and let's just go ahead and bring her on the stage. Hello, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show.
Love it.
So before we get into the business side of things and your story, obviously I wanted to show the audience a little bit of a Disney icebreaker moment, right? And
Of
earlier
course.
I was alluding to the idea that there's always wonder to be found wherever we go. And I think as kids, we're really good at doing that, right? What do you think about that?
Oh, we absolutely are. I feel like as kids, we're so much better at it than we are as adults. It's sort of trained out of us in a way, I think, when we're
Yes.
taught to be more strategic and sort of follow a formula. So I think kids sort of inherently have that magic, and we almost have to train ourselves to get it back later.
Right. So let's look at a lovely photo that you sent in of your Disney days back in the time. This is little Lana here. She's beautiful. She's adorable. Why do I bring this up? Because we all have this little person inside of us that loves creativity, that loves wonder, and that seeks interesting things and finds beauty and wonder in all of it. So tell me a little bit about your favorite Disney memories as a kid, and maybe some of those wonder moments that you experienced then.
Absolutely. So I am prime Disney. I'm a millennial, and there's a storage unit with every single Disney VHS, dating myself,
Yes. Yes.
that was created at the time.
Yes.
I had a sleeping bag that you hold up to your neck, and then the rest of it was the dress of Belle. So it looked like
Oh
you were
my
wearing the Belle
gosh.
dress. Oh,
I
yes.
remember those. You totally just took me back in time with that. Yes, we need to bring those back. I had
They're
an
amazing. We
Eeyore
really should.
had an Eeyore one that, like, gave me his little hands, like, the little
Oh, that's so
there was, like,
cute.
gloves there. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
yes.
We need a photo of that, by the way.
You need to find it.
Actually, so many of my memories in childhood were tied to Disney. I had a
Aw.
Disney on all the time. So I think it really taught me so much about allowing sort of magic and storytelling to be part
Mm,
of your life. And I think what's really interesting about Disney, and we'll talk about this a bit, I think, during our conversation,
yes.
they're this very special combination of magic and practicality. They can tell you exactly how many feet apart those trash cans should be, and that's part of the magic because there isn't trash everywhere. And so it's this brilliant combination that I think makes Disney really powerful and is one of the reasons that they've gone so far.
I love that you brought up the magic of, it's like a magic of like creativity and also practicality in the same
Yeah,
sense. Because I think when people hear my show, they're like, oh, cute, we're just talking about fun Disney stuff, which we are. And we're also kind to try to relay how these big business decisions are executed can also be used for you as an entrepreneur, whoever is listening, right? So not everything beautiful has to be eccentric and really difficult to achieve. Like, there's small things we can do in our business to give us the effect that we want. And I think for me as a creative, I think our space is really important for that.
that's
I think
huge.
how important do you feel your atmosphere affects it is that your atmosphere affects your creativity, your brand, just your overall presence.
I think for you personally, having
Yes.
that space reflect you, it makes you feel comfortable. It brings out the best in your creativity. If the color scheme is really, really dark and you like light and bright and airy and happy and whimsy, you're
Yes.
never going to feel comfortable or do your best work. So I think for you
Mhm.
personally, it's huge. And then from the perspective of a brand, it's really the visual language that you use to communicate your brand. So when you have
Mhm.
visitors or for people in your office, I mean, think about the distinction between Apple and Google. They have very, very different feel. And if you've ever been in their office spaces, they reflect the design that you see in their products. Apple has this very sleek and modern kind of look to it in all their offices. It's simplistic and elegant design, which looks very much like what they sell. So you get
Yes.
this immediate feel like, oh, this is Apple. This is what I expect. So it's really
Mm.
that visual representation of you as a brand. You go to Google and it's a lot more colorful and
Yes.
bright, and they've got living plant walls spelling out Google. They have all those colors that they pull from their logo. They have these little nooks and seating areas. So it's all, it's technology based, it's innovative. Both companies have that, but they actually execute in very different ways that are very on brand and make you feel the googliness of the
Yes.
space right when you walk in. So it makes a big difference
It
when you're
tells a
actually
story.
telling people who you are.
Yes. Yes. And I didn't mean to interrupt, but yes, it,
No,
it
you're
does.
fine. Yeah.
It tells the story subconsciously without you even
Yes.
having to say anything. And isn't that what a good brand is, right?
100%.
So that's for physical space, but even for a digital space too. I
Yeah.
think about the your LinkedIn profile. I think about your website. I think about the recording room you're in. Like here we have like colors and themes that kind of match that. But I think for someone who's just starting on that journey of like what is the feel and the message of the brand, and they're getting started, it can be overwhelming. So that's why I'm really
Mm.
excited to talk to you about physical examples that then can train the eye of someone that maybe wants to relay it in real life or digitally, however they want. So we'll get to that in just a second, but let's learn more about you. I want to learn more about your story and specifically the passion side of what you do. Like, why do you choose to do this work over any other work? What calls you to it?
Yeah, and this is actually a very topical story because my career really began in sales. As you mentioned at the beginning, I was a real estate agent in New York, but then I went back to business school and I felt like I should get some of that traditional corporate training. And so I went that route and was climbing the ladder. Most recently, up until last year, believe it or not, as head of commercial for a product line at a fintech company.
Oh, okay. So she's got B2B experience
I
too.
do, absolutely. Yeah. So I speak a lot of different languages here.
Yes.
But on the side, I had purchased a couple of properties and renovated them, which I loved. I actually
Yes.
had a couple guys in the office where we'd get on a Zoom call, and rather than doing the, hey, how's the weather where you are? We do the, hey, what'd you renovate this weekend? What
Oh,
project are you working on? And so it just started to become like almost part of my identity, even in a corporate space, that I loved real
yes.
estate, that I loved renovation.
Mm.
You can seriously lose me in Lowe's for hours. You can't leave me there. It's a bad
You'll lose
idea.
me, but maybe if I brought you, we'd find each other one way or another.
Yeah, we might balance each other out nicely, actually.
Right. Funny.
So people actually started mentioning, even in my corporate spaces, how much I would light up when I was talking about it. So I wrapped up a corporate M&A process at my last company. And I had told myself, all right, I'm going to take one more corporate job, was sort of the line I kept using, but I'm actually going to do something about making my long-term dreams come true. So I started building the business on the side. And long story short, it started taking over and I let it. So I did not end up taking that one more corporate job. I decided to do the real estate full time and I deeply love it. I love the transformation. I'm so passionate about all of it. And so I think what's interesting is that my background really sets me apart in the staging work that I do
Ooh.
because I not only understand real estate and buyers' needs, but I also deeply value the importance of return on investment. And let's be
Oh,
real, our homes are very often our largest investments. So we
yes.
should put the effort into maximizing that when we decide to sell. And so that's where I
Mm.
come in. And it's not just that, beautiful design eye that most stagers are designers and that's their background. But I also bring in this sales component where I recognize, all right, here's who we're actually doing this for. Here's our audience. Here's how we design for it. Here's how we maximize that return on your investment. And here's how we tell a story in the space and help buyers imagine themselves living there. So you're casting this magic and telling the
Yes.
story with the furniture and the placement. And oh, I can imagine my kids playing there. I can imagine eating at this table. So it
Yes.
really is sort of casting that spell in a way.
And have the, I don't know, magic powers to be able to do so, we could use that terminology here, is really important and valuable, very valuable. Being able to do that in a physical space does set you apart from someone who is just doing a great design because you're thinking
Yeah,
about the whole sales process, the entire customer journey from
exactly.
beginning to end to when it repeats in the cycle. And I encourage everyone listening, whether it's a physical space for you, your product, or your storytelling, your messaging, like to consider what Lana just said here. Consider that audience, make them feel like they're part of that story, right? So with staging, there's certain things like that's done really well. I actually went to IKEA recently and I wanted to bring it up with you because they do
Yeah,
a little bit of that and their staging where they kind of tell this story through
yeah.
the props and the placement, and it makes you see yourself in it if that's you.
Exactly. Just this, shelving with holes. So what do I do with this? And all
Yes.
of a sudden it's in a room and it has these items. All of a sudden you can imagine it.
They even have these stuffed dogs that are on dog beds that they also sell the dogs. So they're not only selling you on the story, you get to take home the fluffy cute dog. They have like all these things that bring life to a space, right?
Yeah.
And I think when there's life in a space, there's a life in a brand and there's life in you by proxy by being in it. So let's get a little technical here. So Lana and I before kind of looked together. We made a little canvas on Canva together, and I asked her like, what makes a great space. So for those of you listening that want to just start with your office and like, you decided 2 months ago you want to start your business and you want to get your office going in your bedroom or something like that, or in your living room, who knows. Okay, so what makes a space great? So we kind of did a little bit of a Disney twist on this, and I basically started off with, your typical renter's room. It's got beige walls, maybe a boring carpet, this is way better than it was before, right? So you got a room that looks like this. And then you have me who goes, oh my God, there's too many options. I don't even know where to begin. Right? So we want to take it from that all the way to this. So how do we start? Where do you start?
So I always recommend if you're struggling
Hmm.
to figure out how to design a room, to start with an anchor piece. So
Okay.
maybe you have, your grandmother's couch and it's antique
Hmm.
and it's beautiful and you really like you that has to be in the room. So if that's
Hmm.
the case, start with that. If you are Bippity Boppity Business and you feel very passionately about there must be a fairy godmother in
Yes.
this room because it is part of what makes my brand.
Yes. Yeah.
It's more traditional looking, it's bright, it's whimsical.
Mhm.
But I think what makes a great space, and this is sort of the theme of our conversation, is that it balances functionality, aesthetics, and emotional resonance.
Ooh.
So, Disney does this so well. They design for imagination and creativity, romance, adventure, but
Mm.
those trams are on time. They know how far to space those trash cans. They know how
Yes.
to keep crowds moving. So
Yes.
it is this brilliant combination of personality magic and practicality. So for your office space, we have this anchor piece where we feel very impassioned. This is our
Mhm.
brand. We need to have this image in here, but we
Mhm.
also want to combine that with practicality. We want our guests to feel comfortable. We want the space to be warm, well
Mhm.
lit. We want them to feel at home with living things, a plant in the space.
Mm.
So we find a couple of more neutral chairs and a rug, which helps you anchor the space.
Yes.
So, a rug can really help you define what that space is. So if you have a huge open concept space, I recommend going very large with the rug. In a smaller space, you'd want to have one where you could place the chairs and the little coffee table on it comfortably
A little tinier, maybe.
beyond the furniture on all sides so that it anchors the space, it grounds it. You can see, how big it is. You understand the space you're working with here. And you may have, your desk or something on the other side of
Yes.
this. So this is our visitor space. And then what you can do is, go neutral with those, main pieces, the
Mhm.
chairs, the rug, but then to pick your color scheme, you can draw from your anchor. So we have this
Mm.
beautiful blue in the image behind us, and we
Yes.
want to bring that into the room a little bit. So
Yes.
you can bring it into throw pillows, throw blankets. You could even build it into the rug, other pieces of
Mm.
art throughout the room. And then, you could do a little Disney magic. You're Bippity Boppity Business after all. So
Yes.
you want to tie that in with some Easter eggs. So perhaps those coffee
Oh.
table books are Disney themed. Maybe
Oh.
a gold bowl that pulls in the color from the image and it has Disney themed chocolate in it.
Cute.
Tie it in throughout the space. And then maybe you have subtle use of sound design with some background
Mm.
music with instrumental versions of Disney classics. So you're weaving in the Disney magic in still a practical, comfortable way that doesn't overwhelm your guests, but oh, how cute is this? This is a Disney book on this coffee table.
Yes. Those details are things that I truly admire with somebody who has your type of eye, because sometimes we forget that the details we don't forget about the details. Sometimes we don't have time for them, so we kind of gloss over them. But those
Mhm.
details matter. They matter in your space, they matter in photos that you take and within your space, they matter with whatever you do. Those There's small subtle hints to your brand. And I do want to give a
Exactly.
small disclaimer to people listening. I'm not trying to make your space, look like a Pixar movie. Like, just take these concepts and apply them to whatever aesthetic that you personally like or enjoy that applies to your brand. But what we're doing here is we're really trying to show the level of detail to consider. Even sound design, I love that concept because in the theme parks, they do that. Every different park you go into, the music genre changes to match that world that you're in. Your world building, really. You're not just
Yeah.
setting a room, you're world building. How cool is that? You create worlds.
Even scent. They'll
Yes,
pull in, like, the smell of baking cookies, right? Disney really goes all out with those little details. And,
yes,
to your point, we're talking about Bippity Boppity Business here,
yes.
and so you wanna invite guests into a space that feels magical yet professional. You're
Mhm,
blending that Disney whimsy with
mhm,
functionality,
mhm.
so you're showing yourself as a brand that is serious about storytelling and innovation, but while still celebrating the joy and the creativity that Disney represents. So take your brand, what does it mean to you? What does my
Yes,
design look like? And build from there. So we talked about what Apple looked like, what Google looked like. They all have
right.
a very different feel. And so what story do you want to tell? What narrative do you want to weave throughout your space? And that's how you design it.
Let's go through a couple examples that you sent earlier to kind of drive the message home of, as a designer, when you look at a photo, like what emotion are you reading from it? What story are you pulling from the space? And how do the colors play into that to kind of create those subliminal messaging or emotions? So let's start with this first example. And let's go ahead and let me see. I'm going to remove myself for just a second to see.
Yeah.
So this is the example so that we can both can see it, and I'll make it look different later when I edit it for the video. So anyways, talk to me about what you see here and in the story.
So the contemporary is really interesting because I think it is so Disney. Did you know that the design is actually modular? They built the rooms individually off-site and brought them in and built them within, I think it was 9 months, they built this whole
Wow,
resort.
that's
So again,
amazing.
combining that Disney magic with a lot of practicality, they had a timeline and they stuck to it. But the
Mhm.
idea, even many years, I think it was the '60s when it was built. The design was meant to be sleek and modern, really focusing on clean lines, neutral tones, and mid-century inspired furnishings. Now, they have updated this multiple times over the years to help it continue to feel, but they've
Contemporary.
continued
Yeah.
the outside is like this very A-line, interesting shape, but inside they've definitely continued to like update. But it, no matter what, continues to have these open spaces and bold geometric elements with this sort of nod to a futuristic design. So the tram
Mm,
actually goes right through the middle of the contemporary resort. And again, that magical feeling, is futuristic feeling of having this tram coming right through the middle of your resort. But hey, it's going to create a lot of vibration. So, of course, those
mm,
brilliant engineers, the Disney engineers, came in and actually made it such that the structure of the buildings were separate. So that the actual hotel was separate from the tram so that they could accomplish this while maintaining the functionality and the comfort of their guests. So, again,
mm.
continued tie in of the magic with the functionality. And if you're wanting to bring this sort of contemporary feel home, you start with the new. If you notice this picture on the right, you can see that it's very neutral in terms of the furniture. So, whites, grays, beiges, but then they have really bold, bright accent colors like yellow, orange, teal. You can also do mid-century modern furniture, which I love. It has very sleek silhouettes, tapered legs, minimalistic designs. They also really double down on geometric art and decor. So there's a huge geometric mural in there, which really sort of sells that contemporary feel. And then very, very large, open, airy spaces. So you can bring those pieces into your own home. And in fact, this is a great tip because I actually suggest to people that they design in this way. You choose your largest pieces that you want to have for years to come in a really neutral color and look. And then you
Mm.
design around it with the details. So the pillows, the throw pillows, your tchotchkes, all of those things are where you bring in your color, your personality, the artwork, even the rug, which isn't too hard to replace over time. But in that way, you allow yourself to be able to, if you like to change things up, or even if you just like to decorate for the holidays, you can swap things out very easily without having to change out your big ticket items. So actually, the contemporary resort gives us sort of a good lesson in that as well.
I think it's almost a good lesson in being able to future think and make decisions that are practical while you can also kind of stay in tune with trends, right? So if you have these pieces, I might want to buy a pink couch today, but in 2 weeks, I may not want, maybe Barbie trend is over and I may be like,
Yeah.
oh, I bought this pink couch and I hate it, right?
Exactly. And like
But
I have been there with shoes and clothing far too often to buy a couch that I'm going
yes.
to change.
Well, I think the similar thing too is it almost speaks as a metaphor to how you want to position your brand authentically, right?
Yeah.
Because if you try to give yourself this messaging that is trendy, that looks and feels like all the other brands out
Yes.
there, it will be maybe it'll be effective, but you won't resonate with it as quickly and it'll be kind of hard to
Yeah.
change. So, I think it's how do you feel about that?
I agree completely. I think, and also we evolve over time, and especially
Yes.
as a business, like new businesses, we think we want to go in this direction, and it may be that almost certainly you will evolve over time and start to more effectively establish what you're wanting to do as you're in front of more customers, you're out in the market
Mhm.
longer. Those things evolve, and so by sort of starting with like more neutral foundations that you can build and grow on over time, it
Mhm.
allows you a lot more flexibility. So yeah, I think it applies to branding overall.
Starting with the story, basically, your true story, like,
Exactly.
so if I like you said earlier, if my messaging is for whimsy, fun, creative, but also business, whatever that is, if I try to appeal to the trends and like make my logo like black and white chic and whatever, this and that, like luxury, super luxury, like I think Sephora or whatever type branding and
Yeah.
storytelling, that's awesome branding, but I'm gonna get sick of it really quickly because
Yeah.
I'm not resonating with it,
And will you be able to maintain it too? Like,
Right.
even if you tried, if it's not authentic to you, and I feel like these days there's this sort of swing back towards authenticity. They don't want to see this perfectly manicured. They want to see you. They want to see you
Yes.
in your brand. And so I
Yes.
think by designing from the heart, not based on trends, you really are able to do that effectively.
And once you see you in your space first, I think it can help make you better understand your brand, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Again, that visual representation, it's so powerful.
Okay, let's do another exercise with the my favorite one. With my favorite one, the Grand Floridian. So what's the story that's being told here?
So this is a classic luxury, elegance, this Victorian era. It paints
Mm.
an immediate picture in your mind. And Disney did this so well. I feel like, especially in those common rooms, it's these grand chandeliers, ornate molding, soft pastel tones with some floral patterns thrown in. It really combines opulence and charm, which is not an easy
Ooh.
balance to strike. It can go cold, but I think they find that balance and make it warm while also feeling very elegant and luxurious. And in the rooms, you'll notice they don't beat you over the head with it. And I think that is, again, part of that Disney magic of finding the right balance between a theme and storytelling, but also practicality and functionality. You have those more Victorian feel and the headboards and the lighting, the bed ruffles are much more formal feeling, but it's still like clean, bright white bedding, elegant, simple, sophisticated. So they balance it really well so that the guests still feel warm and comfortable and clean in the space.
I like opulence and charm. It's a balance. It seems like
Yeah.
there's for each of the spaces, they're really pulling into a couple different themes, not just one, right? It's just kind of like a good balance for all of it.
I think they're really good at balance. And I think too, they consider the public spaces differently than they do the rooms themselves. I feel like
Mm.
normally in the rooms, it's more toned down. If we talk about the Grand Caribbean, there's an exception in children's room, which I actually quite agree with. We can chat
Yes.
about that.
Yes.
But I do think they really tone it down in the private spaces such that you're feeling it, you're living it, but you're not overwhelmed by it. And
Right.
you can do this at home in a way that you're not living in the Grand Floridian.
Right.
But you can incorporate, like, I love moldings. Oh my gosh. Like, to do a dining room with wainscoting around it, and then
Oh,
you can then balance it by doing more modern furniture in terms of the dining
yes.
table and the color you actually paint the walls and the furniture in the room. So you can pull in those pieces and give a nod to it in your home without being overwhelmed by, sort of heavy Victorian era elements,
Yes.
which I think Disney did really well too, because they could have gone with like dark, heavy furniture
Yes.
and with lighter colors with that opulence, the grand chandeliers, the molding.
You know what? It's actually very interesting you said that because the Grand Floridian Hotel is actually modeled by another It's modeled by another hotel that's in somewhere in the San Diego, like California area. But the original hotel, very similar, very dark
Yeah.
wood. They very much leaned into the super Victorian because I think it is of that era. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone listening. But when I went and visited, I was actually really interested to see like how structurally, like the shapes were similar, but how much color can
Yes.
change the entire feel. Like the exact same shapes and structures, but just how one color changed the entire like aura of the place.
Color is really, really powerful, and it changes the feel, the size of a space. Smaller spaces, when you put really dark colors all the way around, makes it feel smaller. If you did maybe just
Yes.
one accent wall, it works. So it's amazing how the bouncing of the light and the way that color changes the whole feel of the space. And I think that's what Disney went for here. They did the opulence of the large chandeliers, the very ornate pieces, like a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful bird cage that is just very beautifully designed. They have the molding everywhere, but it's all painted these sort of light, neutral pastel colors to brighten and lighten and warm it up rather than having it be sort of this deep, dark color scheme.
There was on Facebook Marketplace, somebody was selling, I guess they were liquidating one of the like desks and consoles that were in the room. It had this interesting, like this pillow color with the green and the embroidery with the Mickey on it. It
Mm-hmm.
was a chair that had that in the back. And then like a wood mahogany desk. What I'm trying to say is, if you are a literal Disney fan, there are options sometimes on Facebook Marketplace where when
Yeah.
they do a redesign where you could buy some of the stuff for pretty cheap if you wanted to. So just fun fact of the day.
Yeah, actually, Facebook Marketplace can be a real treasure trove,
Yes.
especially if you live in a big city, because people get desperate to just unload it. If they're
Mm-hmm.
moving and they can't move it and they just want to get rid of it, they'll sell it for a really low price. There was one like beautiful, huge marble table that if I had anywhere in the world to put it, it would have had to be like an 8,000 square foot house, been all over it, but it was free. You're giving away for free. It was multi-thousand-dollar table.
Oh my
So that is
gosh.
actually a very good tip that you just gave.
And the reason why I bring it up is, you might look at stuff like this and go, well, I don't have the time or the money to make my space look like this in my place. Who cares? I just need like one color I like and a logo and I'm done. But like that, you can really do so much and be scrappy with it if you look in the right places, right?
You're willing to do a little hunting, even like Home Goods and TJ Maxx, if you're
Mm.
willing to dig a little bit, there's some great deals to be had there.
I wish I could go with you to Home Goods.
Really fun.
I give you a budget and we go together and I'm like, girl, let's go there.
Trouble in a Home Goods.
I want to talk about something else that we touched on just a
Yeah.
second ago, but I want to really dive into it, and that's color, right? So, color in general, I feel as someone like you who understands it, really does tell story. And for someone who's not, design, like, I don't know, blessed in the brain, who doesn't understand color, like, what's the importance of it, like, story wise? What stories do color tell? And what different colors could do that for you?
I feel like it's almost the foundation of the spaces, the color you paint it. You'll see articles about like, don't paint your bedroom a dark color because you want
Mm,
that to be this relaxing enclave where you can go and I'll feel almost spa-like. So paint it
yes.
whites and light blues and these very comforting, cool colors that you can sleep very calmly in.
Yes.
But also, if you love color, don't be afraid of it. And I think the trends come and go and the feature walls come and go. But if you love a color and are a little afraid to go full room with it, do one feature wall and really then design the space around it. You can go more simple with your furniture. Again, like it makes sense to go more neutral with the couch anyway. But design for what you love, not the trends. Because if you just follow the trends and you put a color on the wall because it was the Sherwin-Williams color of the year for 20,
Or the trending Canva template of that year if you're doing
yes,
digital
yes.
stuff. Yeah.
You're very likely to end up being unhappy with it over time. One thing you can do, like actually Canva is a great example. You
Mm.
can pull in like a design or a picture or something you love, put it in there, and it will actually make like a brand palette for you and pull out multiple
Mm.
different colors. So that can be a great way to get started with color. Also, keep in
Right.
mind they always look extremely different in the store, especially like in a big box store with that fluorescent lighting. It will look so, so, so different on your walls and at different times of day. So whatever
Ooh.
you do, get multiple examples of it. They have some new like really cool peel and stick ones where you don't even have to paint anymore. Put them on your wall and actually look throughout the day to see what you like best because it will change with lighting. So keep that in mind too. A deeper, darker color that you love in the morning, maybe way too much at night.
Right.
So
That's such a good tip though that you mentioned because it really brings both worlds together. Like if you're out in the world, say you're at the Grand Floridian and you're like, you know what? These are the kind of colors that I've been trying to get for not just my house, but also my brand too. Like, how the heck do I get this vibe? You're right. You can pull it into Canva and see what colors it really is it's pulling. And then you can kind of start from there a little bit with the design and everything. And yeah, it's such a good idea to do that. Not only be able to design my space, but my aesthetics too, like my
yeah,
digital assets too, like to kind of bring it all in,
oh yeah,
be fully immersive. I'm gonna start doing that. That would be a fun scavenger hunt for me to do. I wish
yeah.
I wish there was a little group of like entrepreneurs that we could get together and take photos of cool things and be like, oh, I wonder what color, and like build your brand in real life, like through actual sets. Like, whoa, what a fun
Yeah.
experience that would be.
I'm sure we can get some entrepreneurs on board with that. So
Yeah, so let's bring it back to the last resort that I wanted you to tell us about. So, tell me the story about the Caribbean beach. What are they trying to achieve here, and how did they do that?
So they are bringing you a vacation and a resort right here.
Yes.
They are going tropical, really pulling in the Caribbean. And they do
Yes.
that again, like very subtly in some spaces, a little more aggressively in others. In the center image, you can see that they have very neutral colors on the wall. They have very grand high ceilings. They have the exposed beams, but they're painted. They have
Mhm.
those light, flowy curtains, which really give a nod to the tropics. And then along the top, you can see that pop of color in the sort of teal or seafoam green that they have up there. And so it's done in this like very elegant, classic way in this
Mm.
space, but it still captures the charm of the Caribbean. But on the right, they go a little more literal with it. It has the cheerful colors, very breezy atmosphere, playful details. So you can see the tile flooring brings in teals and sort of corals. Then they have the shutters and the bright teal. So you can do this in a couple of different ways. The one on the right is a little more literal. The one in the middle is a little more subtle. You can pull in items like wicker or rattan furniture, and pops of color are great. So if you don't want to paint your house seafoam green or coral, you can paint the front door and add a couple shutters that you paint in the seafoam green. And then over
Mhm.
time, if you get bored with it, all you have to do is paint the door and a couple of shutters. So you can bring in those design details without being one, overwhelming, and two, without making it really tough to change if you decide that you want to mix it up a little bit. You can also bring in those tropical plants. You can bring in palms and monsteras into your home, and it creates this sort of immediate tropical feel in a really easy way. And I love plants for bringing life and warmth into a space. So, way to do it. But one thing I did, what I alluded to this earlier, the image on the left is
Yeah.
a kid's bedroom. And, maybe to go back also to our previous conversation about kids and imagination and losing
Yes.
that as we get older, I think kids' rooms should almost be a place where we throw the rule book out the window and
100%.
let the kids have full magic in whatever way that they want. And you notice in
Yes.
that image, you're actually sleeping in a pirate ship. You have a little, the wheel behind you.
Bias, because maybe I like the kids section of rooms to go more than the average person, but I agree. Like, there's just something beautiful about that letting it
Yeah,
free roam moment because for the kids, that's a different target audience.
yeah.
Now they're like in the movies that they watched. Like they're the character, they're the main character basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now you have to be the kind of parents who are willing to like change that up once they
Yes.
get bored of it and want to do something different.
Keep that financially in mind. Like my little brother, I remember, not so little anymore, but when we were growing up, he had so many like phases of things that he liked. Just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
first it was Bambi, then it was Thomas the Train, and then it was like, Cars the movie or whatever. So we weren't gonna like buy him a car bed and then
yeah.
train bed and then a this bed or
But you
whatever.
can buy the
But
bedding
buy
and
the
just
bedding.
or just the sheets so that he gets that little taste of it and buy, with little design pieces, like a little lamp with a car shape at the bottom.
So cute.
So, that's also a great way if you want to still let them have the fun and the imagination and the whimsy to do it in such a way that is still not breaking the bank for the adults in the room.
Oh, I really would love to one day just like dream. I'm just gonna dream out loud and like imagine like a whole warehouse where it's like podcast sets, but like with crazy fun, whimsical, different like rooms in them. It's like one of those ice cream museum type things, but
Yeah.
like you can record like podcasts in them. Oh my God, that'd be so fun.
Hey,
That
people
would be
would tune
awesome.
in just to see what your
Just to
background looked
see.
like that day. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
All
it's a good,
right.
it's a
Well,
good,
this has been so fun. Before we wrap up, I would definitely want to thank you for hanging out with me, talking business, talking design, talking Disney. Well, let's do a little bit of a fun transition to a rapid fire Disney segment, the bippity
ooh,
boppity portion of the business, basically. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Come on, everybody. Here we go.
Okay. If you could choose any Disney house, castle, room, like from any movie, and it
Ooh.
could be like your room that you could go in whenever you wanted, it was your space, what space would it be and why?
Oh man, you really like hit me with a tough one.
So I
Oh, I
thought you'd
do. I
like
like it
it.
so much. I'm like wanting to sit and like pull out all the the different
All the
castles and be
room.
like, what do I like about this one? But
Yes.
honestly, I'm such a bookworm. So I
Yes.
have to say the castle and Beauty and the Beast with that library. I mean, I just melt and
I mean,
then we're going like
I need that library. I need the ladder where she just like let it in. Like I need
seriously, as a
ladder.
child, I was like, I will know I've made it with that when as an adult when I have a library with a ladder. So still
Yes.
working on it, but hopefully soon.
Okay. If you could renovate any Disney villain
Ooh.
lair, how would you renovate it and what how would you redesign it or whatever? Which villain would it be?
Oh man. So, I think for the villains, like I'd want to lean into the villain.
Yeah.
It should be like deep and dark and
Yes.
like the castle that was once a Cinderella's
Yes.
families, and then the evil siblings and stepmother
Yes.
take it over. It still sort of feels like the original owners, and so I
Yes.
think you'd want to come in there and make it a little deeper, darker, like
Yes.
feel that evil stepmother vibe.
Brooding, maybe
Oh,
what
absolutely.
I get burgundy for some reason.
I'm
What do
feeling
you
burgundy or like a dark navy, something
Oh,
like
okay.
yeah.
Another question for you. If you could go, somebody showed up, magic wand, said, "Here you go. Here's a bunch of money. You can go to any Disney resort place in the world, like ever at all. Which place, park, restaurant, like whatever, would you really want to go to? Where would you go?"
Ooh, see, now I'd have to do some research because I feel
Okay,
like I'm not fully up on
it's
all of
okay.
the ones that have opened up in like Europe and
Yes,
Asia. And I've seen
yes,
some images from the ones in Asia. They look really spectacular. So my
yes,
leaning would be that because I've done, everything in our neck
yes,
of the woods in the US. So I think I'd like to
yes,
do one I haven't been to and go pretty
yes.
far afield.
I want to go to the one in Japan so bad.
It's one of the ones I'm thinking of.
The
The images
just
that I've
they
seen.
and the whimsy, and it's just like, "Can this just be my house? I wish it could be my house. It's so pretty." Okay, favorite Disney snack when you're at a theme park or have been. Is there a snack that you like? For me, it's Mickey pretzels. I have to get a Mickey pretzel every time I'm there. I just have to. I don't know why.
I mean, like I'm such a sugar fiend. I'm gonna have to go with like any sort of themed cotton candy. I'm all about it.
Oh, yummy. Oh my gosh. I'm also really into Dole Whip too. I love a
Oh,
good
yeah, that's
Dole Whip.
nice.
Okay. All right, last question. My side quest is to somehow end up the top of Cinderella's castle doing a podcast interview of some sorts. A, do you know anyone that can make that happen? And if not, B, can you encourage me to continue my side quest to make that dream come true?
I may know people who know people.
Okay. All right.
I can work on this.
Listen, we're not going to have that recorded, we'll keep that conversation going because my dream is to really have at least I want to do an interview up there. I don't need to stay there. I know you got to like win $1 million or win a magic ticket or, be a celebrity to to stay up there. I need to at least see it. I just got to see it, man. It looks
I feel
so.
like we can really make this happen.
We need to make this happen, okay?
Doable. I'm going to actually strongly encourage you to keep
Okay.
working on this quest, and however I can support, I'm happy to do so. Do
Thank
some little
you.
brainstorming on this one.
Also, I'm dreaming up for all of you listening to do eventually a little bit of a Bippity Boppity Business meetup at some point in a theme park where we have a few speakers, maybe we do a Disney day together. We kind of hang out. So if any of you listening are interested in that, and then also specifically want to hear more from Lana about it, let me know. Message me. That would be great. But would that be something that you would find fun and interesting if we did a little bit of something like that?
Let's do
Okay.
it.
All right, everyone. Well, this has been Bippity Boppity Business. Before we go, how can everyone listening, if they want to learn more about you and connect with you, best do that?
So if everyone did not yet make the connection, my name is Lana Wear, W-E-A-R, and the business is Homewear, W.
I like it. I see
Leaving
it.
a little of that magic in there. Yeah, subtle.
I love it.
Subtle.
Love it.
So you can pop onto our website, sign up for the newsletter. It's literally just homeweardesigns.com. You can also follow us on Instagram. I am actually, truth time, a newbie to Instagram. So I am just getting comfortable with it and learning from it. So, get excited to see me improve over time. And it's just homewear_designs.
Beautiful. Well, before we go, is there anything that you'd like to leave for our listeners? Maybe something I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked you, or a little bit of inspiration for them before we wrap up our magical journey together?
And thank you so much for having me. I think the thing I'd really encourage people to do, and unless you're selling your property, in which case it's a very different story, but if you're just living in it, to really design for you and for your long-term happiness, put the trends aside and really make a space. I think we all learned in the pandemic how important it is. So a space that works for you, it's functional, you can move around well in it, but it also makes you happy.
Well, that's it. Thank you so much. This has been Bippity Boppity Business. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
You've been listening to Bippity Boppity Business. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple or listen to us anywhere you prefer listening to your podcast. Until next time, have a magical day.